Hey y'all, it's Live La Nina back again. This time I am gonna do a special review this time on an anime movie, not a film. And it's gonna be different in the sense that because it's a standalone movie, it's not like a movie that's a part of a show. I am just gonna kind of give it my rating by itself. I'm not gonna use my ranking system like I did previously. I'm just gonna tell you my review of it, my thoughts, kind of like a brief plot synopsis. And yeah, let's get into it. All right, so I'm not sure where you are right now while you're watching this, but AMC just had a special showing for the 20th anniversary of Howl's Moving Castle. It came out 20 years ago. And what's interesting is I did not see this movie as a kid. I didn't. But the company that produced the anime, I believe they had a trailer on one of the Sailor Moon VHS tapes that I had. I'm going to have to go back and confirm that. But I'm pretty sure I seen that animation style on that Sailor Moon VHS tape. So just a little history fact for you. And also showing my age because we don't have VHS tapes anymore. But anyway, so yes, I recently just saw Howl's Moving Castle for the first time for its 20th anniversary. And I also did not realize some of the people that were voice actors for the English dub. That was kind of surprising. Christian Bale, I didn't know he was in there. Josh Hutcherson, I didn't know he was in there also. But overall, it was pretty good. So if I get straight to the ranking, and again, this is not going by the ranking system, so please don't compare this to any other ranks I have given. But just for this movie itself, I'm probably going to give this one a 7. So not too high, but definitely, more than average. So let's get into why I landed on 7. So even though I had never seen the movie before, I went in doing a little research, so I understood it was a classic. So I had a little bit of history. The movie does kind of touch on historical themes, which I love history, any kind of history, I love it. So that is a plus for me. But essentially the story is about a young girl named Sophie who ends up getting cursed by a witch, and the witch makes her an elderly woman. So she goes from being, like a teenager to an elderly woman. So after Sophie gets cursed and turns into the elderly woman, she leaves home and she comes across Howl. Howl is, I guess you could say he's like a wizard for the king. But he's actually trying to stop a war. So what I was saying about history before. So like I said, I researched this. Now the actual movie is based on a book that came out in like the 80s, I believe. A British novel, but the person who produced the movie was kind of trying to tie in themes from the war in Iraq. So it's a retelling of an older novel, and then it has like the war themes inspired by the war in Iraq. So that's just to give you kind of an overview. So in the movie, there is a war going on, and Howl is actually a wizard who is acting on his own accord to kind of sabotage both sides of the war. So he just wants the war to stop. And he is getting summoned by the king. He's hiding under aliases, but he's getting summoned by the king, and he's not going because he's trying to avoid that because, like I said, he's working for his own reasons. He's trying to stop the war. So back to the witch element. So we find out about the witch who cursed Sophie initially and how she ties into Howl. I won't spoil that if you haven't seen it and you want to see it. That part I will leave out. But there's a lot of things that work together, and I think it was good that this was a standalone movie. It was based off of a book. They made it into an anime. They tied it into things that was happening during the time period. This movie was released in 2004. So this was kind of like the peak of the Iraqi war. At least from my memory of it, it was like kind of around the peak. Tensions was high. So they tied in a novel that was written in the 80s, you know, to what was happening at the time period. Overall, it's a movie that has some kind of historical significance, but it's not about that specific war. It just has war themes in it. It's also touching on feminism and, you know, elderly, because you see Sophie, like when she gets cursed, of course she's kind of, you know, in the beginning she's sick. She's like, oh my goodness, I'm an old woman. She runs away from home. She doesn't even let her mom see her. And when she finds Howl's castle and starts living there, she's like, oh, I'm gonna be Howl's cleaning lady, and she's cleaning up. But you can see that she just was kind of living. She felt free. You know, she wasn't, in her old age, I feel like it highlighted kind of the beauty in her old age. Like, don't get me wrong, she was kind of bummed out when she got cursed, but she lived life. I mean, she was going to the market, she was cleaning, she was cooking, she was taking care of the people in the castle. Like, you know, she was embracing her old age, you know, and then she had compassion. So the same, you know, witch who cursed her, she does come into contact with that witch again. And, you know, they have like a different kind of chemistry when they meet again. So there's a lot of good themes in there. You know, some on the human side, some on the war side, but I would definitely give this a 7 for sure. There is a little bit of comedy, just like a couple haha moments. Love is something I want to touch on too. So, yeah, I know I'm on my romance kick, but there is some love in this film. But being a film and, you know, being that it's short, of course, there's like no development for that. It's just kind of, you know, there's like some chemistry and then boom, you know, now somebody's in love. You know, it always ends up like that. But I still feel like it was kind of necessary for the story, because Howl has been out, you know, fighting, trying to end the war, trying to sabotage, you know, both sides of the war. And then here comes Sophie, and Sophie is, you know, she's an elderly lady now, but he knows she's cursed. I mean, everybody in the castle knows, except maybe Marco, but most people, you know, they know that she's cursed. So it doesn't have, because it's a movie, it doesn't have enough time to happen organically. I'll just put it that way. It's just kind of like one of those things, you know, these two characters are going to end up together, and we're not going to get a whole lot of backstory on it. We're not going to get a whole lot of build up, because we've got 2 hours to put them together on top of everything else going on in the plot. So this is what you get. So there is a little bit of romance in there. But overall, I mean, I enjoyed the film. Like I said, this was my first time seeing it. I did not see it when it came out 20 years ago. I was not watching other animes like that back then. But I did see it tonight, and it was pretty good. So I don't know if it's still in theaters or not, but I'm sure it's on some app that you can watch it on if you're interested. But definitely a good watch. And I also recommend kind of like looking up things that was going on that inspired the war aspect to be so prominent in the film as well. So this is a special treat. Again, I'm not doing a normal review. This is a special treat. I'm just doing this for the film. So comment any thoughts, or if there's any other anime films you would like me to review, or shows, of course, shows always, but any films or anything special out of the ordinary, just let me know. Thank you guys. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe.